I'm back again, Bishop here. I consulted with a guide, and I know there are some things I must do, so I rather do them while the knowledge is fresh in my mind. So in terms of companions, we want Mahora? What's that? Madora?
Is there no new book to be discovered in this library?
Who placed this book here?
I am on the trail, Source Hunter. Fine, my friend, but I will stay far away from this Screech woman. Perhaps among the crowd at the alehouse is best.
First edition 2. The Source Hunter. Have you come to your senses? Have you changed your mind? Are you ready to join forces?
Madora, yeah.
Volume 1?
Why, simply because you hunt Source, and I, Jehan, hunt demons. You are aware, of course, that quite often both of these pests frequent the same shadowy pools of infamy. Now, I hate what I hunt, but I respect its cunning. Should I not, I'd have been decimated, body and soul, long since. This is a sentiment I'm quite certain you must recognize. Let there be strength in cunning, yes, but also in numbers. On one condition, that on our joint travels we will never deal with demonic entities, no matter how tempting their propositions. Give me your word on this, and I'll weave you spells.
Very well.
Agreed. Nothing good ever came from bargaining with those devils anyway.
Most gratifying. I see you are firm of purpose, and thereby ready to descend. Descend into the madness that is sorcery, into the depths where demons dance. Gladly shall I follow you into the abyss. Onward, blood and triumph await.
Okay, I mean, marksman, I'm gonna, like, leave this guy. She will be like...
Kaj'Dinor. A brief history of sorcery still hasn't been returned. Theleron will have to pay yet another fine. Volume 1, Volume 2. But where has the third one gone? Shatsu. Sometimes I think these books sprout little legs in the night. The knight in see-through armor? Princess Buttercup with the blushing bottom? Stenteken. Esmeralda does have a propensity for all things naughty, hasn't she?
Yeah, we have some good stuff here. And maybe some stuff here.
Kaj'Dinor. A brief history of sorcery still hasn't been returned. Theleron will have to pay yet another fine.
Excellent. The best possible traits.
Kaj'Dinor. A brief history of sorcery still
Yeah,
hasn't been
honestly,
returned.
companion
Theleron will have to pay yet
stuff,
another
I don't
fine.
want to move. I'm definitely speaking
The knight in see-through armor?
everything.
Princess Buttercup with the blushing bottom? Stenteken. Esmeralda does have a propensity for all things naughty, hasn't she? Turjageta, friend. I am Victoria, daughter of Mayor Cecil. When I was very young, you see, the fisherman he raised me like... Indeed you may.
Lucky find!
Volume 1, Volume 2. But where has the third one gone? Shatsu. Sometimes I think these books sprout little legs in the night.
Now this is valuable.
Kaj Dinor. A brief history of sorcery still hasn't been returned. Celeron will have to pay yet another fine. Volume 1, Volume 2. But where has the third one gone? Shatsu. Sometimes I think these books sprout little legs in the night. Who placed this book here? A volume of poetry among novels? Urak! What mayhem! Who placed this book here? A volume of poetry among novels? Urak! What mayhem! The knight in see-through armor? Princess Buttercup with the blushing bottom? Stenteken. Esmeralda does have a propensity for all things naughty, hasn't she? Kaj Dinor. A brief history of sorcery still hasn't been returned. Celeron will have to pay yet another fine. Kaj Dinor. A brief history of sorcery still hasn't been returned.
So we did that.
Celeron will have to pay yet another fine.
And now I can go. I remember what you had to do, but we need to. Where is infirmary? Maybe here.
Not in the mood for cheese.
Come now, Alistair. Surely you've met your match once or twice.
Long fled youth,
First,
I
need
sailed the
actually
sea.
dig out the grave. Because I know we need a shovel, but for that, we need something else.
Dear me. How the coast reminds me of my long fled youth. I sailed the sea. I walked the world.
May the seven keep you.
Here lies James, as usual, the filthy fibber.
I smell
Rotten
Here
lamb
lies
chops.
Kavanagh. Will they have Sicil pie in the afterlife?
Rest in peace, darling.
Where are you, Jake? Are you playing without me? What trickery is this? That's not Jake.
It's a rotting sheep's corpse. It seems someone snatched Jake's body.
Here lies David, who ran from the Reaper. You'll never catch me
Rest in
alive.
peace, darling.
Rotten lamb chops. Where do you think you're going?
If you play with fire, you get burned.
Pummel into the earth.
Sparking shot!
Meet your demise!
Maybe now you can learn something useful, like how to wash your underthings.
Everything we do seems to fortify your abilities. Are you playing without me?
I suppose your example has inspired me to reach heights I never before envisioned.
That inspiration hardly flows one way, my friend. I smell rotten lamb chops.
That shovel has proven worth its weight, it seems.
Indeed. And who knows what manner of riches we'll unearth together with this tried and true treasure digger.
Enough to finish this mission with a long vacation in the tropics. Gazing side by side at a burgundy horizon, if we're lucky.
May the seven keep you.
darling.
Dear me.
Where are you?
How the coast reminds me of my long-fled youth. I sailed the sea. I walked the worlds. Dear me. Oh, how the coast reminds me of my long-fled youth. I sailed the sea.
Rest
I
in
walked
peace,
the worlds.
darling.
I mean, she has demon, right?
Dear me. Oh, how the coast reminds me
So
of my
we're gonna go
long-fled
with
youth.
like Ice King.
I sailed the sea. I
No
walked
fire
in peace,
resistance,
darling.
but it's doable.
Ah, the sun is out. Yet I feel a cold inside my soul. The bane of age. Crux of years.
Rest in peace, darling.
Dear me. Oh, how the coast reminds me of my long-fled youth. I sailed the sea. I walked the worlds.
I smell rotten lamb chops.
The sun is out. Yet I feel a cold inside my soul. The bane of age. The crux of years. Ah, oh, how nice it is of you. Pray, let me be forward with you. O sapling rose, O leaf of spring, I am but an aged elf that has seen the years parade in long succession. You would listen to my grievances, guide me towards untroubled realms. Hot spiced wine and a snug little room awaits us on the king crab's first floor.
They say he's privy to ancient and arcane secrets, the likes of which I doubt you could even fathom, old king.
So, what's the bad news? This here's my family business. Yes, there's been a Roberts escorting stiffs into the next life since the foundation of Seal itself. Sad story, that. Though if I'm speaking plainly, the sentimental aspect of it all doesn't make much of an impression on an undertaker. I just concern myself with giving the remains a respectable exit from life. We set him to rest in the northern graveyard. Perhaps he can finally get a little peace. A sheep? That's a whole heap of nonsense. Don't bother me with such wild tales.
I mean, how the fuck? Why am I guessing? Why?
Why should I help those louts? Most of them would do anything to avoid paying a few extra gold pieces for a proper funeral. And anyway, I haven't got a thing to tell you. Enough of that bloody business. If you're just going to bother me about finished matters, I'd consider it a favor if you'd leave me be.
I mean, that minigame is fucking stupid. We had bigger charm than him, and somehow... How are we supposed to guess which thing is good? I mean, I can always attack you, right? Yeah, I'm gonna attack him and then...
Hey, stop that! So, what's the bad news? Sad story. I just concern my... Enough of that bloody bit. This here's... That's enough of that now!
Another innocent has fallen.
Innocent? Ha! Consider it target practice, for there is...
True.
Nah, I'm gonna load that autosave and hopefully I can figure out that stupid minigame.
That shovel has proven worth its weight, it seems.
Indeed. And who knows what manner of rich...
Enough to fit...
Problem is, now I have to freaking...
Jake? Where are you? Are you here, Jake? Jake!
May the seven keep you.
Oh, it goes to and fro, the city's youth. They hustle and bustle, while I sit here stagnantly.
Oh!
May the seven keep you.
I mean, the pet talk is probably one of the best traits you can get yourself.
Ah, the sun is out. And yet, I feel a cold inside my soul. The bane. Oh, how... I am but a naked, hot...
So, what's the bad... This here's my sad story. I just A sheep? I suppose you're right. A corpse is one thing, but I couldn't stand to have the disappearance of a living soul on my conscience. Come, I'll tell you the whole story. I buried that blasted sheep, but I swear on my lucky left foot I had nothing to do with that body disappearing. 1 minute it was on my slab, you see. I left the room for just a moment to answer the bell in the front parlour, and when I returned, the body was simply gone. In its place was a sack containing more gold coins than I could even count. The message was clear. Silence is golden. My business has been declining right alongside the rest of our blighted city. And that sack of gold was worth more than I made during one of the good years. I knew I had to bury something or risk being found out. So that night, I stole into the market and made off with Bertia's fattest sheep. It was a bloody waste to stick so much fine meat into the ground to rot, but it had to be done. Now, you can imagine I've spent more than my share of restless nights wondering who could have wanted that cadaver and for what purpose. I'm not an inch closer to imagining the why, but I've got a few inklings as to the who. Near as I can reckon, there are only 4 people who could have been involved. Mayor Cecil, Captain Aureus, Theleron's apprentice Evelyn, and Esmeralda. Plenty of us shopkeepers entrust the mayor with the spare keys to our businesses, you know. And he's the only person in town with a second copy of the key to the mortuary. He could have used it to sidle in without a peep, if he were so inclined. Aureus himself paid me a visit the night the body was delivered. Came rapping at my door in the frosty morning before the sun had even started peeping, and told me to tell him, and only him, if I noticed anything strange or suspicious about the remains. Can't see why he'd bothered to go through all that trouble, unless he knew something the rest of us don't. I know it sounds strange suspecting the doctor's apprentice of something so ghoulish as this, but there's few in this city could manage to transport a corpse without raising eyebrows. It was she who delivered Jake's body from the inn to the mortuary, and there was something about her that night, some kind of excitement. Seemed she could barely contain her thoughts, that there was something thrilling about to happen. I can't quite settle it in my mind how a young medical professional would have such a strange reaction to an occasion such as that. And this may or may not have anything to do with the whole rigmarole. But her master, Dr. Theleron, bought an old shack of mine, one overtaken by undead, for an exorbitant price considering what he was getting. I never did figure what he wanted it for, but he sure seemed eager. I never saw a widow less distraught at the death of her husband, and I've seen hundreds pass through my parlour. It was she who rang my bell just before the body was snatched, lured me outside claiming she needed air, before discussing the funeral arrangements. Some accomplice could have sneaked in and grabbed the remains while I was comforting the oh-so-overcome Esmeralda. That gold's the only good thing to come out of this blasted affair, and I certainly plan on making some use of it. Well, with all the troubles plaguing Sicil, I suppose us natives ought to put our finest feet forward